Basketball is back, which means the Brooklyn Nets are back. I'm really excited for this season. It's nice to have basketball back, considering how bad the Giants are, and it's kind of frustrating watching football at this point. So to have the Nets back is going to be awesome. We open tomorrow night, which probably will be today if you're watching this video, in Detroit. So that's a toss-up game in my opinion. We definitely have a shot to win that one. So it's going to be an interesting season for the Nets. I mean, I did a video, I think in July or so, talking about the offseason moves we made, and I thought we had a really nice offseason. We didn't have any like huge superstar signings or any huge trades, but I think we did some under-the-radar stuff that was really good for the team, and making trades, getting a first-round pick from Denver, and of course, Sean Marks doing the most with what he's been given. So last year was an interesting year for us. We improved by 8 games from the year before. I think we went from 20 wins to 28 wins. A lot of new faces last year. Of course, D'Angelo Russell coming from the Lakers. Allen Crabbe came over. DeMarre Carroll. Jarrett Allen was a rookie. Spencer Dinwiddie spent half a season with us 2 years ago. Last year really burst onto the scene. Joe Harris took a huge step forward. This year we're going to have Ed Davis as a new face. So there's a lot of guys to talk about for this Nets team, and it's going to be a really exciting year, I think. I don't know. I don't expect to make the playoffs, don't get me wrong, but I think it's going to be another year of improvement for us, and I think we're about maybe 1 or 2 years away from being a competitive team, so it's going to be a good year. So, of course, if you're a Nets fan and you did miss my off-season reaction video, I recommend going back to watch that, but I went over how I absolutely loved the Ed Davis signing. I loved bringing Joe Harris back, and they really didn't pay him all that much, which I thought was great. He was such a good player for us last year. He improved on not only shooting but driving to the basket as well. I think like his field goal percentage when driving to the basket was like top 5 in the league, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he's been really good. Spencer Dinwiddie was awesome. Jarrett Allen was 19 years old last year. I still can't believe how effective he was. He looks a little bigger this year. I think it's going to be another step in the right direction for Jarrett Allen. He's going to be a big piece to this team, and Kenny Atkinson's offense. He's going to be that guy who sets screens on top of the key. He's going to be the roller in pick and rolls, and going to be asked to finish some lobs and has to rebound, which I think has been his one weakness so far. I mean, that game against the Knicks in the preseason, their first game, Enes Kanter took advantage of Jarrett Allen, had a lot of offensive rebounds. So, I mean, outside of giving up rebounds, I don't really see a weakness with Jarrett Allen right now. Of course, he's going to take another few years to develop into his full potential, but I really like where he's at right now, especially at such a young age. So let's go over the lineups that I expect this year. I mean, I'm not sure if this is exactly how it's going to go, but, of course, I did make this a few days ago, the chart. So, of course, we just found out today DeMarre Carroll is going to be out for a while with a, minor ankle surgery. Really, they say there's no timetable for his return, so could be a few weeks, could be a few months. I really have no idea. I wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully everything goes well. Allen Crabbe is currently injured as well. He's already ruled out for tomorrow, so I mean, so 2 of the guys in the starting lineup that I originally had might not be in there. So, as of now, I mean, I expect the lineup in Detroit to start tomorrow to be D'Angelo Russell. Maybe between Dinwiddie and LeVert. I'm really not sure on that one. They might go Russell, LeVert, then probably Joe Harris, I would think. Russell, Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, Hollis Jefferson, and then Jarrett Allen. So I think that might be a direction to go in. I'm really not sure. I think Kenny Atkinson really wants to keep Rondae Hollis Jefferson in the starting lineup. Probably wants to play Caris LeVert as much as possible. But from my perspective, I like having Dinwiddie running the second unit. Shabazz Napier is also hurt right now, so he won't be able to run that second unit. So, I mean, having D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie play together is great and all, but like, I just like having 2 guys on the floor at once that are kind of floor generals and can control an offense. I mean, no disrespect to Caris LeVert. I mean, he's still very young, but last year when he was asked to play point guard, he was a little out of control at times, and he still makes some young player mistakes at this stage in his career. I mean, I saw some mistakes in the preseason, some lackluster turnovers and all that. So those are things he has to fix, but I mean, you can tell LeVert looked a lot more explosive, and his jump shot looked a lot better, so I'll get into him later more. So, I mean, the second unit, as I said, Dinwiddie's going to be there. Joe Harris is probably going to be there. Ed Davis, who is a terrific rebounder, and then Kenneth Faried, who Didn't look all that great in his preseason performance. I forget if he played in 1 or 2 games. I watched him play in one game. Had a bit of a rough outing, so I'm not really sure what to expect from him. And I think as a Nets fan, you kind of have to hope that that Fareed has a good year. I mean, he's 28 years old. I believe he's in the last year of his contract. I mean, if he does play well, a team might give up some decent assets for him at the trade deadline. The Nets do have a lot of players that could be traded at the trade deadline, and I actually listed that in one of the slides coming up, so we'll see that later. So of course we have who else are we going over here? Treveon Graham. I mean, he had a up and down preseason. I really did not watch him in Charlotte at all. I had no idea who he was when we signed him. But after watching him, he's definitely an athletic player. He has the potential to be a good defender. He definitely has the tools for it. I mean, from what I watched, it looked like he was a good defender, even a good on-ball defender, which you like seeing. And his jump shot looked a little rough at times, but then there were times where he looked like he was a smooth shooter, so I don't know if it was just nerves, but I saw him miss 2 3-pointers really badly where I think he airballed them and overshot them, so I'm not sure where he's at as a shooter. I don't really have the percentages in front of me or anything, so I apologize for that, but he won't make a big impact for this team, but I think if the Nets go against a team that has a star going off against us and they need a lockdown defender, maybe he can be that guy. Of course, we have Zana Musa, who was our first-round pick this year. He played in, I think, 1 or 2 games. He did look pretty good. I mean, same thing with Rodion Kurucs. I don't know how to pronounce that name exactly yet. I mean, the Yes Network was saying Kurucs. They were kind of putting some emphasis on it, so, I mean, I'm not going to do that, so I'll just say Kurucs. So Kurucs and Musa, they did have, like, a unique playing style. You can definitely tell. And I love these guys that come overseas, because they have balls. I mean, there's just something about these guys that come overseas, and they're just like a different kind of player. I mean, Bojan Bogdanovic, and remember Mirza Teletovic, that time he left in LeBron's face after, having a hard foul around his neck. That's the kind of guy that you want on a team. I mean, you don't want a guy who's afraid of their opponent. You want a fearless player, and it looked like Musa and especially Kurucs definitely play with a fearless type attitude, and you like seeing that kind of stuff. So I do hope those guys get to play a lot this year because they're very interesting players, and the only thing that's going to help them is playing. So hopefully Kenny Atkinson gets to get them in the lineup a bit this year. And of course we have Jared Dudley, who's been around forever. He was making a shot in the preseason. I'll give him that. He did have some impressive 3-pointers in the corner. Made one on top of the key against the Knicks, I remember. So he did what he was supposed to do. He's a veteran leader, good locker room guy. According to him, he's the best locker room guy in the league. So don't know if he's just being cocky or if that's the truth, but it seems like people like him. Of course, he's not going to do much, but he's just a guy who's going to be there, and he's another guy who could be traded if he's having a good year at the trade deadline. I'm not sure what you would get for Jared Dudley, but it's always a possibility. So that does it for the lineups. Now let's get into the next slide showing our future and the players that are 25 and under that can make a huge impact for us in the future. So here's a list of our key players, our young core, as I said, of guys that are 25 and younger. And we have a good group here. I mean, you look at a rookie, Zana Musa. We're not sure what we're getting from him yet. I like to say he's like a young Gordon Hayward. Of course, that's like, just a white guy who looks like Gordon Hayward and kind of plays like him in a way. So that's why I'm saying that. Jared Allen's only 20 years old. Kurucs is only 20 years old. D'Angelo Russell's 22. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson's 23. I'm not sure if we're going to re-sign Rondae after this year. That'll be an interesting one. I mean, as of right now, I feel like we won't, but we'll see how he plays this season. I mean, I haven't been too impressed by Rondae. There have been games where he's looked incredible, but then games where he just looks kind of lost, so he needs a consistent year. Caris LeVert looks very improved this year. I think he might have a really big year and might take the biggest step for this team. And Spencer Dinwiddie, who I believe has 1 year left on his contract, and if he plays like he did last year, then I think we need to re-sign him. And he seems like a guy who wants to be here, so I don't think he'll be asking for a ton of money, so hopefully we're able to re-sign Spencer. And it's just absolutely crazy how young some of our good players are. I mean, I'm 22 years old myself, so it's like weird seeing guys like Musa and Jared Allen, Kurucs, even D'Angelo Russell that are, my age or younger than me. And, Jared Allen for a 20-year-old or even a 19-year-old last year played so well. I did admit, I don't know if I said it on this channel or not, but I really thought that Jared Allen was going to start in the D League last year, or the G League, I should say. But he started right away. Well, didn't start, but he was playing right away and was making an impact. So you could tell that he has a really bright future in this league. He has a lot of gifts that a lot of centers don't have. He's not your traditional center where he's just a bulky guy who grabs rebounds and sets screens. He's a guy that has a lot of potential for a jump shot. He's a smooth player, really lanky, can dunk on anybody, it seems like. And he's even been making some three-pointers. I mean, he did make a couple last year. I think he made a couple in the preseason, so that's very promising. If Jared Allen can develop a consistent jump shot, then watch out, NBA. He's going to be a really terrific player if he does that. You look at Kurucs, who I saw someone on Twitter said he was kind of like Andrei Kirilenko, and if you remember Kirilenko from the Jazz, I mean, not the Nets version of Kirilenko, that was freaking terrible, but the Jazz version of Kirilenko was one hell of a player. But, it looks like Kurucs is a smooth jump shooter. He has a crafty way to him, and looks like he brings a lot of energy. So, as I said, I like players like him, and we'll see what we get from him. D'Angelo Russell, as I said, it's going to be a make or break year for him, but I don't think that's the right thing to say for a guy like him right now. He's still only 22 years old, so even if D'Angelo had an off year this year, it's going to hurt him financially because he's going to be a free agent. But I don't think his career would be over by any means if he had an off year or another injury-plagued year. So I mean, we'll see what we get from D'Angelo. I always said, I want D'Angelo to be 80% of what James Harden is. I think he has that kind of ceiling. I don't think he could be as good as James Harden, but if we can get 80% of that out of D'Angelo Russell, that would be amazing. So that's kind of what we're hoping for as Nets fans at this point. I feel like they do have similar play styles, both lefties, and use pick and rolls a lot to their advantage. So it's going to be interesting what we get from Russell this year. I'm hoping he has a really big year. I like him a lot, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, Caris LeVert, as I said, took a nice step. It looked like over the offseason, the Nets kept raving about him, and you could tell his jump shot's very improved. If you watch any of the preseason, there was a game against the Knicks, I think the one that was at the Garden, where LeVert pulled up and hit 3 threes in a row and just looked like he was in the zone, looked very confident, and it's going to be exciting to see what he can do this year. And, just all these guys, I mean, just watching them and knowing they're so young and some of them are under contract for a while, it's going to be a fun year to watch these guys grow and develop. So on to predictions here, and according to Bleacher Report, they had the Nets wins and loss record at 30-52, which I kind of think is lowballing it a bit because the Nets did have 28 wins last year. As I said, their best player was out for 40-something games last year. Jared Allen's going to improve. Caris LeVert's going to improve. So I really don't know how the Nets would get any worse. And, the Nets lost a lot of close games last year. The Nets rarely had games where they were just blown out. They lost a lot of games last year because they're young and inexperienced and didn't have a closer, especially when D'Angelo Russell was out. So I think having these guys back, and if they stay healthy, will definitely help them. And I think they can easily get over that 30-win mark. I have them at 34-48. Which would be another improvement from the year before. As I said, they went from 20 wins to 28, and now I think they'll get to 34. I mean, 34 is not going to make the playoffs, you would think. I mean, it'll probably be the 9th or 10th seed, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So, I mean, I kind of feel good about that prediction. I hope it's a little more. I mean, I think the Nets' ceiling could be potentially between 38 and 40 wins, but I think 34 wins is a fair projection. I mean, there might be fans that are more optimistic than I am, but I try to be realistic as possible. So who takes the next step? And this is just, players that can, really take a huge jump and become, not superstars, but really good players in this league. I think Jared Allen has that potential. I don't know if it's this year. Generally, it takes a big man a few years to develop, so this is only his second year. But we'll definitely see improvements from Jared Allen in year 2. And then Caris LeVert, who I think this is his 3rd year. This is a big year for LeVert. I mean, he's going to get the minutes. He's going to be asked to do a lot this year, and he looks really explosive. I mean, his moves off the dribble, It seems like he can get by almost anybody. His jump shot looks better. And if you have to, as a defender, if you have to respect Caris LeVert's jump shot, it just opens up the rest of his game. I mean, in the past, the defender can kind of sag off him a bit, but if you have to respect LeVert's jump shot and get up in his face, and he can go by you and just make plays. So knocking down his jump shot is going to be the biggest thing for Caris this year, and I really hope he can do so. The Nets MVP, I say it's going to be D'Angelo Russell. I was between Russell and Dinwiddie on this one, and definitely it was Dinwiddie last year. But I'm going to say Russell. I'm hoping that we get at least 70 games out of Russell. I understand he's probably not going to play all 82. You would hope so, but he'll probably even get rested on some days, so 82 is kind of unrealistic. But at least 70 games, hopefully. And, if Russell plays like the player he could be, I mean, we've seen him at Ohio State. We've seen him with times at the Lakers, and even times last year where he just takes over games. There were a couple games when he was a Laker against us that he absolutely took over the game. He scored like 38 points once, had a huge shot. I think that's where the whole ice in my veins thing came from, was a game against the Nets. So D'Angelo Russell can be a absolute game changer when he's right. And as long as he's healthy this year, which he looks to be, at least so far, then I think he'll be an MVP for this team at least. So who gets traded? I mean, I don't know about DeMarre Carroll right now. I mean, this was also a few days ago when I wrote this down, but as long as he's healthy, I think DeMarre Carroll can be traded. Of course, he's a veteran. He's a small forward who can, make his jump shots, be a leader, play pretty good defense. I think Kenneth Faried can be traded. He has 1 year left. He's 28 years old. A lot of energy. He's kind of been buried on the Nuggets bench for a while, so if he turns out to be a good player, I'm sure the team will want him out there at the trade deadline. And then there's Ed Davis, who is we got him on a 1 year, I think $4.4 million deal, which was a steal. And, it's only a 1 year deal. So if the Nets are kind of out of it by the trade deadline, which you would think they probably will be, then I think Ed Davis becomes a pretty decent trade piece for a team. I mean, I think there's even a chance we get a first rounder for Ed Davis. Not like a high first rounder, but, like a 20-something overall pick for Ed Davis, especially if he's a good rebounder like he's displayed to be. Last year, he was one of the best rebounders and was probably the best bench rebounder in the league. So Ed Davis can be a huge piece to a team that needs a rebounder, and I could see a team trading for him at the trade deadline. He's still 29 years old, and he's going to be a useful player for a lot of teams. So I forgot to talk about him, but I think this is another big year for Kenny Atkinson as well. It's also his third year. And, he's made improvements and he's done some good things. I mean, it's really rare to see a Nets coach the last 3 years based off how it's gone since Lawrence Frank has been fired. I mean, the Nets have found no consistency with coaches whatsoever, so it's kind of odd to see someone last this long. So, I mean, I think he'll be fine, and I hope he continues to improve. I think if he keeps improving his win total every year, the Nets will continue to stick with Kenny. You would hate to fire a coach and have to start over again, with players trusting the organization and learning a new system and whatnot. I mean, we all know Kenny's system is a lot of shooting three-pointers and, guys moving around. They call it a motion offense, so a lot of pick and roll, a lot of shooting. And the Nets, when their shots are falling, they're a terrific team. It just really comes down to making shots, which sounds very obvious. And, if the Nets are making their three-pointers more specifically, and playing defense, which was definitely an issue for them last year. I mean, that's kind of the price you pay when you play such a high tempo. Sometimes your defense suffers, and we definitely saw that. I think another problem the Nets had last year was getting out-rebounded. The Nets were starting Tyler Zeller or Cody Zeller, whichever Zeller it was last year, for like half the year until he was traded. Jared Allen was getting taken advantage of because of his, his lack of bulkiness, I guess you can say. So, adding a guy like Ed Davis will help with that, but he's only one guy, so hopefully Jared Allen steps up. So this team did have weaknesses that they need to improve on, but I think if they can, just minimize those and become a decent rebounding team and a decent defending team, then I think we'll be fine, and then maybe we can get to those 40 wins like I was talking about. But as of now, I kind of see it between 34 and 36 wins. I'd be fine with that. I mean, it's an improvement. It'll probably be another fun year. The Nets are going to be in a lot of close games. They will break our hearts at times because that's just how it is. A lot of close Nets games that don't go our way. But it'll be a fun year, and I'll keep making videos for you guys. I mean, probably like once every month or so, I'll be making the Nets update video. And for the Nets fans that enjoy this, just let me know in the comments and give me your record prediction for this year, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.